Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I am Lindsey Hall. So, for anybody who doesn't know me, I'm an intimacy and empowerment coach. And what that means to me, 'cause that can mean a lot of things, what that means to me is that I love to help women deepen an intimacy with themselves and with others, really own their power and their pleasure, and live a joyful life that they absolutely love. Like, if you're not doing that, then what's the point? So there's lots of ways that I go about doing this work, but one of the things that I do every week and have done for over a year now is come on and do these weekly tea break chats where I talk about life stuff, like whatever's been going on for me in the past week, what's come up, what lessons I've been learning, what challenges I've been facing, what I'm celebrating, like all the things. And then I answer your questions. So it's a chance for you to get some free coaching, which is pretty sweet if you ask me. And I do them live on Instagram, and they also then go up on YouTube, so you can see the entire backlog on YouTube if you want to at my Lindsey Hall Coaches channel. And every week I come on and I say basically the same thing at the start, which is, I don't know what I'm going to talk about this week. And it's no different this week because there has been so much going on. And one of the things I guess I want to talk about is how there can be so much going on even when it doesn't feel like it. Like, I probably would have come into this thinking it's like I don't know what's been going on this week. It's kind of felt like a bit of a plateau. I've felt like I've just been in this like no man's land in between world. And actually, as I was just sitting here thinking just in the like minute or two before I came on of really what's been going on this week, it's not been nothing because it never is. There's been a lot of stuff and a lot to celebrate and a lot of just sitting and being with. So let me do some celebrations because I actually don't always start them this way, and I love celebrations, and I love getting to like stop and recognize the good stuff that's been going on, the stuff that should get some recognition rather than just like cruising right by. So stuff to celebrate this week. New connections, new opportunities coming up, and really like, do I want to say renewed excitement? That's not the right word. Just continuously stoking my internal fire, I guess, of just exciting things going on, and having other people like see me and witness me and go, oh, I see what you're doing and what you're putting out there in the world, and I believe in what you're doing. I believe in your work. I believe in you. I believe in the importance of this for all of us. I believe in us coming together as a community to do this work, and just how freaking cool that is, because it is way cool when you get people who are like soul level mirrors back at you, who can see in and reflect back to you. And sometimes people reflect it back better than you can even do yourself. So I'm celebrating having that time this week. I'm also celebrating really getting more clarity, I guess would be the way to put it, in my co-parenting relationship. I've been co-parenting now. I split up from my co-parent nearing 4 years. It'll be 4 years in January. And we've been on this co-parenting journey, and it is still a journey and will continue to be, I imagine, for the rest of our lives. But so I appreciate that we are still learning as we go. We are still getting clarity over how our relationship works. And sometimes I don't always love what that looks like. Sometimes I really do. But every time I do appreciate the added clarity that comes from these things. So celebrating new clarity coming up this week. And I guess some of the challenges, the right words, and the stuff I've been sitting with and holding, hello lovely, is that, like I mentioned, I was sort of feeling like I'm in this in-between period, in this no man's land, and I am, but I'm also really able to see the beauty in that. And I actually laughed out loud at the universe this week because I will be totally honest. I don't love the in-between periods. They're not my favorite place to be. It's like, and I've talked about this if you've watched these videos for a while, you'll definitely see me talk before about like the bridge and trusting, and it's actually the phone background for my phone, where you've got like something beautiful over here and something beautiful over here, this rickety string bridge in the middle, and you've just got to walk across it and trust that you're not going back, so the only way to go is forward. But like, I don't love being on that wobbly bridge. But the reason I laughed out loud at the universe this week is because that is where I am. Again, when you're doing this kind of work, there is constantly more bridges to cross. So as soon as you get across one, you're like, yes, I made it to the other side. It's not going to be long before the next bridge comes up and you're like, oh, I'm crossing another one. Cool. Because that is how it works when you just keep going and going. If you didn't, and you'd be at that beautiful place, but then you'd probably get bored of that eventually, because like, it's cool and all, but I kind of want something new. So anyway, so yes, I've been here before. I've talked about this before, and I'm probably going to keep talking about it as long as I ever live. So I'm on that bridge again. And the reason I was laughing out loud at the universe is because I got several messages from several places reminding me of how this is part of the process. And there's actually, not only is it okay to be on that bridge in the in-between, but it's really, really valuable. And to not shun it, to not try and like magic yourself out of it or wish that you were somewhere else. So, and I had a podcast that I listened to by Julia Wells. So if you listen to, it's called Wait, What the Fuck, and Spotify, it's Wait, WTF. And her podcast, it actually might have been last week's. I think I'm a week behind in listening. But it was a question about like going back to get a 9 to 5 and how there is no right or wrong in that, and the considerations to think about, and how people will tend to like glorify or vilify either going back and getting a job or not going back and getting a job and sticking it out and being dirt poor. And she was talking about how she's seen it go both ways, and there is no right and wrong, and everybody has to decide for themselves, and just talking about like the okayness of being with that. So there was that, and then I think it was the same day maybe, or maybe the next day, I had an email in my inbox. I follow this amazing coach named Simone Soul, and she sent an email on her mailing list about just being able to be in the I don't know space, and the what's the next step, and the what's it all for, and the like, can we ask big questions and not necessarily get answers? Can we ask big questions and not get it's going to be okay, it's okay, or, you know, like, here's why, like, just, we don't need to always be in the fix-it mode. It's okay to just be in the, I'm going to ask some questions, and I'm going to be uncomfortable with the silence that follows, and I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to sit there with that, and I'm going to be with other people who want to ask questions and just sit there with that and aren't going to jump in and fix and be like, you know what, I've got a question too. So, and then there was somewhere else too. I'm sure there was a third thing that came within those same few days. And like I said, I literally laughed out loud, and I was like, okay, universe, I hear you. Like, the in-between is where I am supposed to be right now. And really just talking about that and being okay with it, and asking the questions. And so I say all of this because, and the podcast about do you go back and get 9 to 5 is because, with total transparency, I have been considering that. And I have been talking to people about what that would look like, because, make no mistake, let me be crystal clear here, I ain't giving up on this business. Not a chance. However, there are also bills to pay and considerations to be made and things like that. This is the real world. But there's so many ways that can look like. And so I've just been having conversations and being open to things, because there's no right and wrong answers. And sometimes we need a little bit more financial stability, and other times we can take more risks. And there's not clear edges of where those phases start and stop. But it's led me to be having some amazing conversations this week. It's led to some great ideas coming up, and like I said, there isn't a right and a wrong. And so rather than being like forcing myself down a certain path, I am, because the universe has been throwing it in my face, I've really been leaning into let's just keep doing the things I'm doing, because I am working on some amazing stuff right now too. So please also don't get me wrong when I say that there is great stuff coming. I'm working on an exciting project, and you may have seen my post this week if you follow me on social media. I put up a behind the scenes where I had two, actually, I think the picture was one table, but I ended up having two tables at this workspace that I work on with a big piece of paper laid out and lots of other pieces of papers on top. And I'm basically mapping out a 6-week program, trying to fit in as much as I possibly can of what I know about dating after divorce and relationships. And turns out I know a lot about it. So trying to fit it into a 6-week course is proving challenging. But that's going to come out in a few weeks' time. And so there's all kinds of exciting stuff going on. And I don't know what the future is going to look like. I don't know what the next steps are going to be for me. I don't know where any of this is going. And that is really cool. So even in the moments where I'm like, I hate not knowing, because I do hate not knowing. If I'm totally honest, I would love a crystal ball that would just tell me what the next 6 months, year, 5 years, 10 years is going to look like. Okay, maybe not 10, that's way too far out. But I don't know, and I am super excited for the possibilities of what it all brings. So I feel like I have just gone on a massive tangent here, and I'm not entirely sure what path I followed, nor how I'm going to summarize this in my bullet points afterwards, saying, what did I talk about this week? If anybody wants to summarize it for me and let me know what I just talked about, that would be great. But there's a lot going on this week, as there always is. And all of it has been, alongside all of the thinking things, there's been a lot of feeling things too. Additionally, it's the first week of my period, just started yesterday, so I don't, like, this week it showed up in tears and feeling more teary and weepy than usual, which isn't my norm, but it was this week, so I just went with it. So there's just been big feelings about things too. And just letting all of that be okay, letting the thinking be okay, letting the feelings be okay, and really knowing that not only does none of that diminish my power, it actually makes me stronger. Like, those are my superpowers, are being able to sit with and hold my feelings, being able to not rush through that. Hey, Sherry. Not having to try and magic myself out of those situations, out of those feelings in the middle, and just really knowing that, like, I get to hold whatever it is that's coming up. And the more that I hold, the more capacity I have to hold even more. And that goes for the, like, good stuff and bad stuff and hard stuff. It's not good or bad. It's just stuff. And the more that we really get to hold and the deeper we go, then the deeper we get to go in other areas. And it all kind of transfers over to different parts of our lives. So I've been soaking all of that in and going, you know what? There are lessons here from all of it. Yeah, expansion in all the areas. And like, when I go in deeper in the new relationship that I'm in, it allows me to go in deeper to my own stuff. And when I go in deeper to my own stuff, it allows me to go in deeper to my business. And all of that allows me to get to hold more for my clients, to hold more for the people around me. And all of it is just this continuous expansion, which is why you go across those rickety little trust bridges constantly. You get to the other side, recognize it, soak it in, celebrate it, and then you're probably going to hop on the next bridge and go across to the next level of expansion, because that is how this works. So I'm going to leave that part of my life update there, and I'm going to answer the question that I had this week. It's one question, but it's a big one, and so I'm going to tell you that it's a big one. It has to do with pregnancy loss, and so if you want to stop listening here, that is your warning. If you want to go into it, because I am a safe space to talk about this kind of stuff, then stick around. But the question was, I experienced a miscarriage and nobody knew that I was pregnant, so I don't know how to tell people. I don't know how to talk about it. And feeling like her partner doesn't understand why she wants to talk about it, why she wants to tell people. And her feeling is, but I want, wanting that validation of that being seen in this experience, wanting that validation in the experience. And I so hear you in this. So first thing I want to say is I'm sending you so much love, and you are absolutely valid in wanting to be witnessed in this and wanting to be seen and validated in your feelings. So first and foremost is I am witnessing you in this, and I am validating that this is a real, deep, hard experience, and that yes, your partner is amazing and is going through this with you, and you are not going through it alone. But also, your partner isn't the only support network that you need, and it's okay. It's very, very, very much okay to want more support in something so big and heavy. And so the idea of not knowing how to talk about it because people didn't know that you were pregnant, yes, this can be a tricky one. And I would say that, so choosing your people carefully, I would say that it's something that is very meaningful to you. And so being intentional with how you talk about it and who you talk about it with, knowing that it's a painful subject is the first thing. So being intentional with who you want to share with, and then being intentional with how you share it. So, we've all probably experienced a time when you've got something important to say to somebody, like say it's an intimate partner or a family member or a friend, and you like blurt out this big thing, and actually it was just like totally the wrong time for them. Like their head was somewhere else, they were busy with something, they were distracted, and so you don't get the response back that you were hoping for, and then you feel disappointed and rejected, and you're like, oh, it's not even important to you. And actually it has nothing to do with you. It's just because they were not in the space to be able to hear properly or to give you that response. We've all experienced that in some way, shape, or form. So with that in mind, I would say choosing the setup for a conversation and letting somebody know, I have a big thing that I want to share with you. Like there's something playing heavy on my heart, and I would really love to talk to you about and to share it with you. Have you got time and capacity for that now? Or, can you let me know when would be a good time? And just sort of setting the scene up that way, because what you don't want is to call your friend and like immediately blurt it out, and turns out she's in the middle of cooking dinner for her toddler and barely hears what you have to say, and then it's not going to go well. But if you say, I've got this big thing, can you let me know when it's a good time? Maybe after the kids are asleep tonight, can you give me a call so I can talk to you about it? Or, can we go out for coffee, just us, or something like that. But kind of setting up the scene so that the other person can say, yes, I've got capacity for this, and I am here and ready to listen. Then the next thing I would say about it is recognizing that there is room for lots of emotions. So we tend to think of things as like either or like it's your turn for something, so it's somebody else's turn to not have that something. Like it's your turn for the floor to talk about this big thing, so then therefore there's not room for the other person's emotions. And recognizing that there can be room for both and more than one emotion. And I say that from your point of view and from theirs, because I know when it comes to pregnancy loss, it can be a very, it's an emotionally charged thing, certainly for us, but it can be emotionally charged in friendships and in friendship groups and with other people. Not even just necessarily with friendships, but with family, because everybody's got their own stories with this, whether it came super easy for some people to get pregnant, or they've been trying for ages and couldn't, or, everybody's got their own stories. So I just want to set the scene again in terms of there's room for all of your story and your feelings and the other person's experiences, and neither one takes away from the other. So, and it can be helpful actually, depending on who you're talking to and what you know about their story, it can be helpful to go into it with that sort of like saying that out loud. So I know people who haven't wanted to share their baby loss stories with certain friends because they've had maybe more of their own miscarriages, and so they didn't want to trigger those feelings up again. And I think that it's really important to note that just because somebody else has their own story, whatever it may be, it doesn't disqualify them from being there to support you as well. As long as you are all at a place and can recognize that both of your stories can hold space, that there is room for both of your experiences, no matter how similar or different they are, there's room for all of it. But it can be really helpful to voice that and to acknowledge that. And then I think the thing is to just have the conversations, really, and to know that it might be hard, and you might cry, and they might cry, or they might not, or you might not, or there's no way to script out a conversation that has such big feelings like this. So then it's just taking the deep breath. It's about getting your nervous system in a place where you're like, okay, I want to do this. I want to have this conversation. I want to tell them. And knowing that it can be uncomfortable, and that it can still be the very salve that your soul needs, the very soothing balm that your soul needs, because we are such social creatures. We are hardwired for connection. And we've got a comment here saying, sending love. I've been there and it's very hard. Be kind to yourself. So yeah, I want to make sure I share that too. There's, you absolutely are not alone in this, and it is hard, but the more that you can share it and talk about it, the more you can get support and feel less alone in your experience. Because I know so many people don't want to talk about it, or their partners don't want them to talk about it, or they feel like they have to keep it to themselves for one reason or another, particularly if it's early on. And we can do this comparative trauma where it's like, oh, well, my trauma's not as bad as yours, so then it doesn't count. And that's not how trauma works. It's not how this stuff works. Your experience is absolutely 100% valid as a standalone experience. It doesn't matter whether somebody else is, again, how different or same it is. Your pain matters and your experience matters. So sharing it gets to give you that connection, gets to give you that support, that feeling of I'm not alone in this, because that is one of the most important things to us as humans, is feeling like we're not alone in this. And you might be surprised when you share with people. You might find out that they had a similar experience and didn't share it, and you didn't know. And then they go, oh my gosh, now I can open up and share mine. Maybe not, because like I said, you never know how these are going to go. But when we start opening up and being vulnerable and sharing and connecting, it can often be surprising what comes out of the woodwork from other people, and going, oh my God, that's exactly like I've been dying to tell you, or, I just didn't have the words. So I think the final piece I want to add there on the I just don't have the words is knowing that it's okay to not have the right words. It's okay to say, I don't even really know how to spit this out, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it, or to use, you don't have to say it all in right words or perfect words. It gets to just come out, and you just get to share how it is. And if you want to tell everybody and their neighbor, that's okay. And if you want to tell one or two close people, that's okay. There is no right and wrong, but it really, really, really doesn't have to be a secret. So I think so many of us feel like big stuff like this, like if we open the box on sharing it, it's going to just cause too much hurt, or it's somehow shameful in, a million ways that our brains can tell us. So we end up holding on to a lot of this stuff. And actually, there's no rule book. Like I said, you can tell as many people or as few people as you want. Your partner doesn't get to be the one to decide that. Yes, your partner's in this too. So, communicating with them and having respect for them and their needs and their desires, because this very much is a woman thing, but it's also not just a woman thing. So, continue to communicate. But also, if your partner's like, I don't understand why you need to share it, that doesn't mean you can't share it. It just means hearing them and hearing what they need for their needs as well, and working out respectful ways that respects both of what you need. I'll pause there, see if there's anything else. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. It's obviously a big topic, and that's not to say there's not more to say about it, but I think that is my starting point. So please let me know if that's helpful. If you want to talk about it more, I am absolutely here. You know where to find me. And for anybody else who is struggling with any of this, again, know that you are absolutely not alone. I always advocate sharing about the scary things, courage over comfort, and ending up trusting that communication and that sharing of vulnerability is going to lead to deeper connection, and deeper connection is pretty much always the winner in my book. So if you want to talk about it, I'm here. Send me a message. Let's start the conversations. We can absolutely do that. If you want to reach out to your friends and you want help doing that, let me know. We can talk about how to do that more. But just know that you are absolutely not alone in any of this, okay? Okay. I'm going to skip the sales pitch this week at the end because I feel like that was such a big topic, but I will just slide in there that my website is lindseyhallcoaches.com. You can find all the ways to work with me on there, and I will leave it for you to explore that if you want to, or send me a message. I will be back here next week. I will do this on Wednesday. The following week, I will not be doing Tea Break Chat because it is half term and my kids will be home with me all week. And good luck to me having conversations like this with a 3 and 6-year-old running around. So I will be here next week. Then I will have the week off, and then I will be back the first week in November. If you've got questions for next week, send me a message. You can email me, hello@lindseyhallcoaches.com. You can send me DMs on social media, whatever it is, however you want to get in touch with me. Go for it. Ask me your questions. I will answer them on here. And until then, have a wonderful week. Do all the human things. Be messy. Be human. Embrace all of it. And I love you so much. Okay. Bye.